Quantum Internet engineers, those who design a world encrypted with light. Hello, dear listeners. At this very moment, billions of data packets are passing over your heads. In invisible radio waves, bank transactions are being conducted, state secrets are being transmitted, and someone's love confession is being delivered through a smartphone. But is all this information truly safe? The encryption systems we currently use rely on mathematical complexity. RSA encryption, for instance, is based on the assumption that factoring large numbers would take existing computers thousands of years. However, quantum computers can crack such encryption in just minutes using Shor's algorithm. To add a somewhat cynical perspective here, we are belatedly realizing that systems we believe to be absolutely secure for decades actually meant only difficult to break with current technology. It's like how doors were sufficiently secure until locks were invented. Quantum Internet engineers are a new profession that has emerged in this era of digital chaos. They don't simply create more complex passwords, but instead base security on the laws of physics themselves, using Heisenberg's uncertainty, principle, and quantum entanglement, fundamental laws of the universe. This guide is about how we should prepare for the future through the profession of quantum internet engineers and what kind of mindset we need to have in this rapidly changing technological era. Chapter 1. Escaping from the digital prison. Consider a modern person's day. We wake up to smartphone alarms, check social media, read news online, buy coffee with digital payments, and conduct business through video conferences. We are already completely dependent on the digital world. But the cyber apocalypse that information security experts speak of is not just a story from science fiction movies. The 2017 WannaCry ransomware attack infected 300,000 computers worldwide and paralyzed the UK's National Health Service. The 2021 Colonial Pipeline hack cut off fuel supplies to the eastern United States. However, these attacks are just the tip of the iceberg. The real threat begins the moment quantum computers become commercialized. The US National Institute of Standards and Technology has dubbed this the Y2Q, years to quantum, problem. Like the Y2K bug, it means that existing systems could be rendered powerless instantly at a specific point in time. To add a somewhat cynical perspective here, we may have been living under the illusion of security all along. We create complex passwords and set up two-factor authentication to protect personal information. But ultimately, all of this was built on the sandcastle of mathematical complexity. What quantum internet engineers pursue is fundamentally different. They implement information theoretic security. This means security that cannot be breached even if an attacker has infinite computational power. It's like locking a door with the laws of physics. The core of quantum key distribution protocols is simple yet astonishing. When two people exchange information using photons, if someone tries to eavesdrop in the middle, the quantum state of the photons changes. This is due to Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, where the act of observation itself disturbs the system. Realistically, what preparation is needed to enter this field? First, a basic understanding of quantum mechanics is required. However, this doesn't mean simply memorizing formulas, but rather the ability to accept the counterintuitive logic of the quantum world. It starts with acknowledging the reality that electrons can exist in multiple places simultaneously, and that particles separated by vast distances can instantly influence each other. Knowledge of optical engineering and laser physics is also necessary, as quantum information is primarily transmitted through photons. Programming skills are important too, particularly the ability to use quantum programming tools like Python and Qiskit. Chapter 2. Life Lessons Taught by Quantum Mechanics. Quantum mechanics is the most revolutionary discovery of 20th century physics. But what this theory teaches us is not simply phenomena in the microscopic world. The principles of quantum mechanics provide deep insights into how we live our lives. First, consider the principle of superposition. In quantum systems, particles exist in all possible states simultaneously until they are observed. This is the same in our lives. Until we make a decision, we simultaneously hold all possibilities. Traditional thinking is binary. Success or failure, right or wrong. But quantum thinking follows the logic of and. One can be successful and unsuccessful simultaneously, right and wrong at the same time. This way of thinking is an increasingly necessary ability in complex modern society. The uncertainty principle provides even more interesting insights. Heisenberg said that we cannot simultaneously know exactly both the position and momentum of a particle. Applied to life, this means we can accurately grasp our current position or clearly determine our future direction, but we cannot know both perfectly at the same time. To add a somewhat cynical perspective here, the self-help industry ignores this fundamental uncertainty and sells perfect plans and surefire success methods. But quantum mechanics tells us that the universe itself is fundamentally probabilistic. Perfect prediction is physically impossible. Quantum entanglement is the most mysterious phenomenon. When two particles are in an entangled state, no matter how far apart they are, a change in the state of one particle immediately affects the other. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. Human relationships are similar. Between people who have truly communicated, emotional and intellectual connections are maintained regardless of physical distance. The networks that quantum internet engineers build also utilize this principle. The concept of quantum measurement is also important. Quantum systems collapse into specific states the moment they are observed. This means that different realities can actually appear depending on what perspective we use to view reality. People who want to become quantum internet engineers must embody this quantum way of thinking. They must be able to move away from traditional deterministic, binary thinking to probabilistic, superposition-based thinking. This way of thinking is important in actual research too. Quantum systems are extremely sensitive, and entanglement can be broken by small environmental changes. This is called quantum decoherence, and engineers must optimize systems while accepting such imperfections. Philosophically, quantum mechanics shakes our belief in objective reality. According to the Copenhagen interpretation, unobserved reality does not exist. The many worlds theory claims that all possibilities are simultaneously realized. Wrestling with such deep philosophical questions is also part of a quantum internet engineer's daily life. Chapter 3: Surviving in a world changing at the speed of light. We literally live in an era changing at the speed of light. Information travels through optical fibers at 300,000 kilometers per second, and artificial intelligence masters content that would take humans decades to learn in just hours. How can we survive in such an environment? First, we must understand the importance of continuous learning. The technologies that quantum internet engineers deal with evolve rapidly every year or even every month. When Google announced achieving quantum supremacy in 2019, many experts thought this was merely a laboratory-level achievement. But within just a few years, multiple companies like IBM, Google, and IonQ began releasing practical quantum computers. To add a somewhat cynical perspective here, we are suffering from eternal learning labor disguised by the beautiful term lifelong education. In the past, one could work for life with knowledge learned in university, but now one must continue studying until retirement. Is this progress or another form of exploitation? But reality is harsh. Those who cannot adapt are eliminated. This is not Darwin's theory of evolution, but the law of technological evolution. When quantum technology becomes commercialized, many existing encryption experts may lose their jobs. Meta-learning becomes a core ability. Knowing how to quickly acquire new technologies is more important than learning specific technologies. Quantum Internet engineers must integrate knowledge across various fields, including quantum physics, optics, electronics, computer engineering, and cryptography. Understanding network effects is also important. The value of technology is proportional to the square of the number of users. This is called Metcalfe's law, and the quantum internet follows the same principle. Initially, only a few research institutions will be connected, but once it crosses a critical threshold, it will expand explosively. Consider China's case. In 2016, they launched the world's first quantum communication satellite, Micius, and in 2017, they built a 2,000-kilometer quantum communication backbone network between Beijing and Shanghai. The European Union is promoting the construction of a pan-European quantum network through the Quantum Internet Alliance. What about Korea? It's still in the early stages, but KT, SKT, Samsung, and others are investing in quantum security technology development. However, compared to China or the United States, it's considerably behind. Understanding technological singularity is also necessary. Ray Kurzweil predicted that artificial intelligence would surpass human intelligence around 2045. When quantum computers and artificial intelligence combine, this point could come sooner. To survive in such a rapidly changing environment, an anti-fragile mindset is needed. This is a concept proposed by Nassim Taleb, meaning systems that become stronger from shocks or changes. Quantum Internet engineers must be able to turn technological chaos into opportunities. Practically, one must become a T-shaped talent, having deep expertise in one field, while also possessing broad knowledge that can connect with other fields. If quantum physics is your major, you also need to develop programming and business sense. Chapter 4. The Psychology of Security. What are we protecting? Have you ever deeply considered the concept of security? Why do we try to hide information? What are we so desperately trying to protect? To understand the absolute security systems that quantum internet engineers are building, we must first explore humanity's fundamental need for security. Privacy is considered a basic human right, but historically speaking, it's a fairly recent concept. In agricultural societies, everything was open. Everyone knew who married whom, which families were wealthy, and who was sick. The desire for privacy is a product of urbanization and industrialization. As anonymity became possible, the need for privacy also arose. Louis Brandeis and Samuel Warren published the paper, The Right to Privacy, in 1890, precisely because privacy invasion became a concern with the development of cameras and newspapers. But to add a somewhat cynical perspective here, modern people cry for privacy while voluntarily revealing everything about themselves. They post their daily lives on social media, keep location services on, and leave online shopping records. What we really want to protect may not be privacy, but control. Information asymmetry becomes a source of power. If I have more information than the other party, I can be in an advantageous position in negotiations. This applies at both individual and national levels. Information theoretic security, the core principle of quantum cryptography, is a physical implementation of this human psychological need. According to Claude Shannon's 1949 proof, perfect security requires that the encryption key be as long as the message, used only once, and be completely random. Existing cryptographic systems do not satisfy these conditions. They rely on computational security. But quantum key distribution solves this problem using the laws of physics. It generates true random numbers using quantum randomness and can immediately detect eavesdropping attempts. Psychological reward systems are also important. As security strengthens, users feel safer, but simultaneously imagine more threats. This is called the security paradox. The anxiety that perfect security doesn't exist creates a desire for even stronger security. Quantum Internet engineers must also consider these psychological aspects. While they can create technically perfect systems, they must ensure users can understand and trust them. There's also the dilemma of group versus individual. There are often conflicts between individual privacy and social safety. Finding the balance between surveillance for terrorism prevention and personal information protection is not easy. At the national level, there's the issue of cyber sovereignty. Each country tries to prevent its data from flowing abroad. Examples include China's Great Firewall, Russia's Internet Sovereignty Law, and Europe's GDPR. The quantum internet will be a new variable in such complex geopolitical situations. Quantum entanglement ignores borders, but quantum infrastructure depends on physical equipment. Who controls the quantum network will determine the flow of information. At the personal level, practicing digital minimalism is recommended. Share only truly necessary information, delete unnecessary accounts, and regularly check personal information. Even when the quantum era arrives, basic security awareness remains important. Chapter 5: Network Effects and Quantum Entanglement of Human Relationships. Humans are fundamentally network animals. Our brains themselves are vast neural networks, and society consists of complex relationship networks. To understand the changes the quantum internet will bring, we must first understand how networks operate. According to Metcalfe's law, the value of a network is proportional to the square of the number of users. When the telephone was first invented, it wasn't very useful because so few people had phones. But as more people began using phones, their value increased exponentially. The internet was the same. In the early 1990s, it was an academic network connecting only a few universities and research institutions. But it grew explosively when commercial use was permitted. Social media followed the same pattern. The quantum internet will likely follow a similar growth curve. Currently, only laboratory-level quantum communication over a few kilometers is possible. But as quantum repeater technology develops, a quantum network connecting the entire world will be built. To add a somewhat cynical perspective here, network effects create winner-takes-all structures. The platform that first reaches the critical threshold takes everything. Google, Facebook, and Amazon became huge because of network effects. The same thing will likely happen in the quantum internet field. The strength of weak ties is also an important concept. According to Mark Granovetter's research, new job information is more often obtained from acquaintances rather than close friends. Groups with strong ties share similar information, but weak ties bring new information. People wanting to become quantum internet engineers must also build such networks. Connections with quantum physicists, optical engineers, cryptographers, and network specialists are necessary. One shouldn't just associate with people from the same major. Applying the concept of quantum entanglement to human relationships yields interesting insights. Between truly connected people, emotional and intellectual resonance occurs regardless of physical distance. When one person's mood or thoughts change, the other person experiences similar changes. But quantum entanglement is very delicate. Entanglement can be broken by small changes in the external environment. Human relationships are the same. Trust takes time to build, but can crumble in an instant. From a network science perspective, society shows characteristics of scale-free networks. Most people have few connections, but a small number of hubs have many connections. These hubs determine the stability and efficiency of the network. similar structures will appear in the quantum internet. A few major nodes will play key roles in the entire network, and controlling these nodes may be equivalent to controlling the entire network. Networks of trust are also an important concept. While quantum cryptography relies on mathematical proof, actual implementation still requires human trust. The actual level of security depends on who made the equipment that generates quantum keys and who manages the network infrastructure. At the personal level, maintaining intellectual humility is important. Quantum technology is developing so rapidly that no one can keep up with everything alone. Collaboration with other experts and continuous learning are essential. One must also recognize the value of diversity. When people with different backgrounds come together, creative solutions are more likely to emerge. In the quantum internet, a convergence technology field, such diversity is particularly important. Chapter 6: The Mindset of Those Who Design the Future. Predicting the future is impossible, but designing the future is possible. Quantum internet engineers are not simply improving existing technologies, but creating entirely new paradigms. Understanding their mindset can help us prepare for the future more actively. Systems thinking is key. The quantum internet is not simply faster internet. It's a systemic change that alters our fundamental assumptions about information, security, privacy, power, and economics. For example, when quantum cryptography becomes commercialized, current public key encryption systems will be rendered powerless. This isn't just a problem for security companies. All digital infrastructure of modern society will be affected. E-commerce, online banking, digital identity verification, IoT, autonomous vehicles, etc. Historical thinking is also important. Technological innovation shows predictable patterns. When the telephone was invented, people thought it was for listening to music. When the internet emerged, most saw it as a simple information search tool. Quantum technology is the same. Currently, it's mainly discussed for security purposes, but it will actually change society in ways we can't imagine. Quantum sensors might revolutionarily improve underground resource exploration, or quantum biology might develop to create solar cells that mimic photosynthesis. To add a somewhat cynical perspective here, it's easy to fall into the trap of technological determinism, thinking that technology unilaterally changes society. But in reality, society selects and shapes technology. The same technology is used differently in different societies. Principle-based thinking is necessary. Specific technologies change rapidly, but fundamental principles last long. The basic principles of quantum mechanics were discovered a century ago, but are still valid today. The basic laws of information theory are the same. The core principles that quantum internet engineers follow are: 1. No cloning theorem. Quantum information cannot be copied. 2. Uncertainty principle. Perfect information does not exist. 3. Entanglement. True connection transcends distance. 4. The role of measurement. The act of observation changes reality. These principles can be applied not only to technical design, but also as life philosophy. Probabilistic thinking is also important. The quantum world is fundamentally probabilistic. Nothing is 100% certain. Everything is a matter of probability. This differs from traditional engineering thinking. Traditional engineering is deterministic. Given an input, the output is precisely determined. But quantum engineering is probabilistic. The same input can produce different outputs, and this must be managed statistically. Long-term thinking is also essential. Quantum technology research and development usually involves long-term projects of 10 to 20 years or more. One shouldn't be anxious for short-term results. Patience and perseverance for basic research are needed. But adaptive thinking is simultaneously necessary. When things don't go according to plan, one must be able to quickly change direction. A mindset that views failure as a learning opportunity is important. Ethical thinking cannot be omitted. Quantum technology is as dangerous as it is powerful. When absolute security becomes possible, criminals can also abuse it. Social consensus is needed alongside technological development. Personally, one must develop composite expertise. One must become a pie-shaped talent beyond T-shaped. That is, having expertise in 2 or more specialized fields, and the ability to connect them is necessary. Chapter 7: Technological Singularity and Human Existential Value. We live at the most special point in human history. As artificial intelligence, quantum computers, biotechnology, and nanotechnology develop simultaneously, technological singularity approaches. At this point, what is the existential value of humans? Ray Kurzweil predicted that artificial intelligence would surpass human intelligence around 2045. But with quantum computers joining in, this point could come sooner. Quantum machine learning can surpass the limitations of existing artificial intelligence. AI has already surpassed humans in chess, Go, and StarCraft. In professional areas like medical diagnosis, legal review, and financial analysis, AI performance is overtaking humans. So what can only humans do? Creativity was considered humanity's last bastion, but AI, like GPT-3, DALLE, and MIDJOURNEY, are creating amazing works. We thought emotion and empathy were uniquely human domains, but chatbots sometimes provide more attentive counseling than humans. To add a somewhat cynical perspective here, we are continually trapped in anthropocentric bias. We want to believe humans are special, but scientifically, humans are just one stage in cosmic evolution. If Darwin's theory of evolution placed humans on the same level as animals, quantum mechanics and artificial intelligence suggest that even human consciousness and intelligence may not be special. Consciousness might be a byproduct of complex information processing, and intelligence might be a form of computation. So what is human existential meaning? Let's examine several perspectives. First, humans as meaning creators. Yuval Harari called humans storytelling animals. The ability to transform objective reality into subjective meaning may be uniquely human. AI can find patterns and make predictions, but value judgments about why that's important may still be human territory. Second, humans as subjects of relationships. No matter how advanced technology becomes, relationships between humans remain important. Love, friendship, and trust are not simple chemical reactions, but results of complex interactions. Third, humans as ethical judges. Technology is just a tool, and humans must decide how to use it. Quantum computers can decrypt codes, but whether that's justified is another matter. The role of quantum internet engineers must also be understood in this context. They're not simply developing technology, but designing the infrastructure of future society. Vision and responsibility for what kind of world to create are needed. Preparation for the post-human era is also necessary. As brain-computer interfaces, gene editing, and life extension technologies develop, the definition of human itself may change. New beings that fuse biological humans with artificial intelligence may appear. To respond to such changes, continuous self-development is necessary. But this isn't simply learning new technologies. It's discovering and developing one's unique value. Philosophical thinking also becomes important. As technology becomes more complex, fundamental questions become more important. Why do we exist? What is a good life? Where can true happiness be found? Quantum mechanics' observer effect provides interesting philosophical insight. If even physical reality is affected by observers, human consciousness and observational ability may play a special role in the universe. Practically, human AI collaboration will be key. We must accept AI not as an enemy, but as a partner, developing in directions that utilize each other's strengths. Quantum Internet engineers will also be able to design more complex systems using AI tools. Chapter 8: Ethics and Philosophy of the Quantum Age. Technological advancement always creates new ethical dilemmas. Quantum technology is no exception. When absolute security becomes possible, individual privacy can be perfectly protected, but this can simultaneously be problematic for criminal investigation or national security. How should we solve such complex ethical problems? Let's first examine the dilemma of privacy versus transparency. As quantum cryptography develops, individuals or organizations can become completely free from government surveillance. This is positive for human rights protection, but can be an obstacle to terrorism prevention or criminal investigation. Current encryption systems leave room for government decryption when necessary. In the US, companies must provide encrypted data when there's a court order. But quantum cryptography creates mathematically undecryptable systems. To add a somewhat cynical perspective here, governments always want backdoors. Looking at the Patriot Act after 9/11, NSA surveillance programs revealed by Edward Snowden's leaks, and recent Apple FBI controversies, conflicts between government and tech companies will continue. The problem of digital inequality is also serious. Quantum technology is cutting-edge technology requiring enormous costs. Quantum computers must operate at extremely low temperatures near absolute zero, and quantum communication requires precise optical equipment. The gap between those who can access such technology and those who cannot may widen further. The same applies at the national level. Countries that secure quantum technology first can have overwhelming advantages over other countries. This could lead to a new form of digital imperialism. There's also the debate of technological determinism versus social constructivism. Does technology unilaterally change society, or does society determine the direction of technological development? In quantum technology's case, technological constraints are strong because it's based on laws of physics, but there's still room for social choice. Philosophical questions about consciousness and free will are also raised. Can quantum mechanics randomness be the basis for free will? Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff argued that consciousness is a quantum phenomenon occurring in brain microtubules. But most neuroscientists don't accept this. If consciousness is a quantum phenomenon, could quantum computers also have consciousness? The possibility of artificial consciousness raises fundamental questions about human existential meaning. We must also examine quantum technology from an environmental ethics perspective. Quantum computers may be more energy efficient than existing computers, but the energy needed for extremely low temperature cooling is considerable. Environmental pollution can also occur during quantum material production processes. There's also the problem of intergenerational justice. What impact will the current generation's development of quantum technology have on future generations? Can we fairly distribute the benefits and risks of technology? Cultural diversity must also be considered. How will differences between Western individualistic values and Eastern collectivistic values create differences in quantum technology utilization? Perceptions of privacy, expectations of government roles, and trust in technology may all differ. Quantum Internet engineers must develop technology while considering such complex ethical and philosophical problems. They shouldn't pursue only technical perfection. Participatory technology assessment is needed. Not only technology experts, but various stakeholders must participate in the technology development process. Citizens, policymakers, ethicists, sociologists, and others must all have a voice. Applying the precautionary principle is also worth considering. Even if risks haven't been fully confirmed, if potential risks are great, technology development should proceed cautiously. At the personal level, ethical reflection must continue. We must constantly question what impact the technology I'm developing will have on society, and whether my actions are ethically justified. We must also develop pluralistic thinking. Complex ethical problems cannot be solved from one perspective. We must understand various ethical theories and value systems and be able to apply them appropriately to situations. Conclusion: a future written in light. We now stand at a turning point in history. What we've examined through the profession of quantum Internet engineers is not simply one technological field. This is a story about what future humanity will choose. What do we need in a world changing at the speed of light? First is adaptability. We need a mindset that doesn't fear change, but rather accepts it as opportunity. New paradigms that shake our common sense, like quantum technology, will continue to emerge. Second is connectivity. As quantum entanglement shows, true connection transcends distance or time. We must be able to form deep relationships with people from various fields and exchange different knowledge and experiences. Third is creativity. We need the ability to create something completely new, not just combine existing things. This is exactly what quantum Internet engineers do, implementing previously impossible technologies using the laws of physics. Fourth is ethical responsibility. The more powerful the technology, the greater the responsibility that follows. What we can do and what we should do are different matters. It's our responsibility to ensure that technological advancement contributes to humanity's happiness and prosperity. Finally, philosophical capability. As technology becomes more complex, fundamental questions become more important. Why do we exist? What is a good life? What should the relationship between technology and humans be? To add a final cynical perspective here, most predictions about the future are wrong. The actual appearance of the quantum age will likely be very different from what we imagine now, but we cannot give up preparation for that reason. The best way to prepare for an uncertain future is to develop fundamental abilities to respond to change. The profession of quantum Internet engineer may not directly apply to you, but the mindset and attitude they show will be helpful in any field. The future belongs to those who prepare. The Bible tells us, "The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty." Proverbs 22:3. Before the great change called the quantum age, we must be wise. We must detect change in advance, prepare appropriately, and be able to seize opportunities. Also, like Matthew 6:33 says, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." We shouldn't pursue only technological advancement, but seek greater purpose and value. What quantum Internet engineers are building is not simply a network, but the foundation of a safer and more transparent future society. Thank you sincerely for taking your precious time to join this journey. I hope this content has been even slightly helpful in preparing for the quantum age. If you're curious about more future jobs and technology trends, please subscribe and like. Your feedback and questions are a great help in creating better content. I hope you all become protagonists in a future written in light. Thank you.